Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this Tuesday morning, beautiful morning, August 20th, year 2024, here with you. Hello, hello, Sean. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access, and then, of course, the tradition of the Hello, hello, show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course, the likes of you are there to make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept called public access. And indeed, so we had a wonderful gathering here, opening of a show of Victor Kerpel and Fan Yu Lin. And it was really a nice gathering, nice opening, enlightening conversations and interactions as we like it here very much. So and it goes hand in hand with the concept, and that concept is, um, appealing and maybe encouraging and enhancing the that level of inspiration that requires one to find himself in the midst of action, especially when it comes to the creative process, which happens to be in itself self-sufficient in that sense. But I wanted to. I can't find my glasses here. Maybe I took it with me. Not sure. Not so sure. Let's see. So yeah, as I said, the opening that took place here, as we are continuing with the heritage of these wonderful art exhibitions, at least I would say now, almost concluding 3 decades of this activity here, and it's interesting that I have a feeling that we need to reinvent ourselves every time we're doing the same thing, even though it's just with different artists and all this. But the process itself really requires the same level of attention, regard, responsibility, planning, successful planning, things of this nature. So I don't know. I sometimes find myself in the midst of making a big deal out of it, but in the same token, I also find myself enjoying because something is completely fluent um, and kind of takes you to certain realms where you find out only after the fact that it spells hard work to go back to normal, to get back to normal. And in that sense, it's just maybe a, a, a momentary confusion that helps you stall and reflect for a second, maybe for a second longer. Um, and also wanted to mention the wonderful gathering that took place on Saturday at the Sculpture Garden at CEED, CEED. I think it's Center for Education, something like that for children and otherwise. So we were a group of poets that read their poems as they collaborated with sculptors, and that was a really very constructive gathering. Dan Weldon is a force to be reckoned with, and he's mainly behind this concept. Um, and then coming right back here to LTV in order to um, start the opening of the show here. The show is called Echoes and Unveiled, and it's going to be up till September 9th, and then I'm introducing some explosive stuff, but in a very kind of gentle fashion, and just the whole idea that sometimes when I think about the duration, and think about the projected chunk of time that that's you know I wouldn't say yields itself to us, to me, but it's more like maybe um, disproportionately uh, making itself available, something like that. And why am I saying it? Because in this day and age, there's so much work that's been done for us by the system that happens to be maybe self-serving. Still, nevertheless, it comes on the expense of a certain level of creativity that's been wiped out literally. There's certain qualities that are not in existence anymore. It's just like a species that's been evaporating, disappearing. And so, now and then I would like. Why wouldn't I use the choices and the service that artificial intelligence allows me and grants me and offers me and shows me? I mean, it would be ridiculous not to be a part of it. But then it's like I have a feeling like I need to inform the mechanism behind it, that I know well of its nature. I know well of its nature. Just like that, I know well of its nature. And this sudden shift of balance, suddenly, even though you're outnumbered, you're getting the proper respect, kind of thing, by the elements and the environment. The elements, yeah. There's some people that are so forceful, so constructive, so positive that yeah, they become the element itself. You can't differ between the two. And you don't need a conversation with that particular entity in order to be clarified about what you're witnessing, what's taking place. The giving of that self-explanatory, self-supporting, self-sufficient thing is really what maintains that steady growth of originality and uniqueness that will happen to be your rewards if you were to choose to engage in this process of trying to understand the nature of it, trying to get to the bottom of things, trying to be compatible with science, but maybe in a way that is more gratifying, that I will grant reality of its rightful, kind of 45-minute daily lunch kind of thing, and maybe half an hour of coffee and cookies thing. And the knowing that it's there, the implication of that is is one and the same when it comes to reflecting before you yourself, and you're reflecting before point of engagement, action of engagement, uh, and so much more behind it, of that crucial moment where you actually observing the things that you yourself are actually doing, and you do it as a result of that evolutionary of that uh, level of heritage and the line of heritage that you're actually directly responsible for, meaning of its manifestation and uh, um, introduction, and sharing, of course. It's an exhibition of painting in a gallery. It's all about sharing. I don't care if you go to the best galleries in the world and they will snob you or whatever it is, but a gallery is a gallery. Its purpose is, of course, to have you come in and observe and check things out and reflect on the behalf of it. It would be nice if you can buy something, but nobody's forcing you, nobody's expecting even. But of course, it's going to be all about sharing. Who's sharing what? The artists sharing their paintings. Just a second ago, just a minute ago, they were hesitant. Just a minute ago, they had second thoughts about how they feel about themselves, how they feel about the the that description of an artist, of the artist that they actually are, and then they're finding themselves having a hard time accepting themselves, accepting that which they just a minute ago thought that their lives is inseparable from that concept, and this is a major part of what establishes and achieves the identity of your personality or character. So it all really marches together into the at least you find out that all these forces and energies and whatnot, at least they're all going uh, to the same destination. They're all going the same way. At least So you gather that there is a something good must be taking place here when you have that uh, a understanding, mutuality, mutual logic behind that which you would evidently and obviously uh, achieve. I mean, a face experience. Um, so even if we will find ourselves paying supposedly a dear price, as we're achieving things or thinking about things, creating, setting up the grounds, making sense of things, uh, becoming more and more compatible with every day that goes by. You're kind of ready. You know more, you experience more. Uh, you know that must spell an increase in productivity. That's just a given. I always say to myself, why would I forget who I am, who I really am, and these are in the early years of painting paintings, late 90s. Uh, what is it what does it spell? Not to declare that you're an artist, or to speak that you're an artist, or to point out that you're an artist, or to come from any angle that will kind of draw attention to you as an individual. People will be able to associate you with that character that makes them feel good, just knowing that someone there is doing it. So what is it that's going to cause me to say, okay, five, you created five, it's enough. Go on. I mean, with other things, it's enough. And maybe it's its way of telling you, maybe it's too much. It's too much. So early on, I wanted, if they want to say separate and control, so the distance is giving you more room to get away with bad things that you've been doing, or at least potentially, but it will help you get away with. That's an awful thing, by the way. Uh, that you complete a whole day where you know that if you weren't to do this up to no good things that you did during the day, probably you wouldn't have this wonderful list of achievements here. Half of it is fake. Half of it is like, only I know that I did not deserve it. But even if you were to go through that, to find out that you're actually maybe just another average, a great artist, but an average person, then you will cheat, not cheat. You will just create your own truth, your own. If you go into the studio every day and you're spending 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day, you know, you anything can be anything. There's no. It's not like this. There is a rule. There are rules, and all these rules are also including the fact that you can create your own rules. Highly recommended to create your own rules. The, but the point is that you will know that this is your studio, this is your acting studio, this is your painting studio, this is your playing music studio, and it's kind of once you step out, You will step out to that which the exposure of your art that you have created put in place. Meaning, if you were to find a world, you were to find a world that's soaked with your music, and and fairly be entertained and satisfied and happy. They seem to be happy listening to your music. They seem to be happy observing your paintings. They seem to be happy reading your poem or hearing someone else reciting your poetry. They will say the same thing about you by way of an opinion, regardless of which medium is under discussion. What is the difference between music, writing, and painting? Even though I don't want to start by asking a question with the word difference. What is in common? What is it that I should expect or look forward to that spells friendship, mutual respect, mutual understanding, mutual consideration for um, a person that you value his or her work and his or her capability, his or her strength, and then you um, kind of know what to expect. And then when you come to the point where you experience the results that the other is allowing you to, uh, you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. And that is actually to say, you feel the weight of all these ridiculous things that you were believing and thinking, unnecessarily draining your energy. You realize it in an instant. Oh my God, what a fool that I was. Why? Because you're going to be facing art, the art of the others, that will happen to impress you so much. And that it will take you a while to realize that how far you were from uh, how you felt about things or about people, that you were proven absolutely, almost completely wrong. That's a humbling reality, humbling revelation. Now, a lot of people will understand it as such, but they can just hide it and put it aside, put it on hold, mute it, pause it, and continue with what they thought or what they think is important. But they will always know deep inside them that they're just not earning it outright. And at some point they're gonna have to make the readjust. At some point they're gonna have to make the um, 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 living up to that which you left as a void, but still considered as an achievement, as a step higher, And suddenly there will be a deflation, and you're going to go 3 or 4 steps down abruptly, and you that will be familiar to you because you will always remember the steps you went through. So the first step and the last step, they're pretty much the same if you think about it. And so what do you see? You see a creation by another artist, and a couple of them maybe, and you kind of know them. Maybe yes, you do. Oh, yes, or maybe not. But you're amazed, and you know about yourself that usually you don't find yourself being amazed by other people's art or achievements or music or a poem, or you can love it, you can appreciate it, but not amazed. And so suddenly you are amazed, and then you look to your right and you see the present. This is the present. Oh, by the way, let's let, let us. Sorry, did I introduce you, the author of this book, or the painter of this painting, or the writer of this wonderful poem? And then you were astonished. You were like, you're already in the midst of being astonished. You're already in the midst of astonishment. And this is happening in just a regular afternoon in some gallery somewhere, or maybe just going through some images on your phone, mixed media or YouTube or whatever it is, and suddenly things hit you because you know what it takes. You know you are the one who's also spending time in the studio. and you know what it takes. You know the drill. So when you see certain things, you also know this took a lot of courage and ability, pure ability, and pure complete willingness to engage. Immediately, you know that. You know that immediately. You know that immediately. Like I liked how when Zoe Pennebaker Breen was here with us, and she said, you know, abstract expressionism is a badass and it rocks. And I got to think about it a few times later, and I said, what a wonderful person she is. What a great artist she is. What is an entity full of celebration. And I'm talking about Zoe Pennebaker, yeah? And that short encounter and the likes of her, there's so many that are not known to us. So many that maybe we know, but we don't know them to be those individuals, creative individuals. Some people keep to themselves, but some people don't want to measure their success or their triumphing vis-a-vis exposure and social media and exhibitions. Not that I think, or not that they think it's a bad thing, but some people just happen not to be. They can exhibit their work once every 2 years, and they'll be more than happy. Uh, as opposed to people like me, for example. Hey, I don't want to feel bad because I'm on 2, 3 exhibitions a year, and you can very quickly and easily feel bad about yourself. Like, what? 3 a year? What? Things like that. So you witness greatness that spells all these qualities that are a part of the reason of why it's great. And to create that greatness, you need that. But you're still in the thick of it, of the thick of amazement, and because you want to continue with your level of sensitivity, but you want to be also a little more accurate in your assessment of the situation, assessment of the participants, your knowledge of the participants in this process that happens to be indirectly, but still nevertheless partners. And I wonder, why am I saying that? Probably any reason you pick up, you realize the reason of why I'm saying that. When it comes to making it your business to say, I'm going to create, I'm going to paint, and I'm going to have a ready to go explanation. So, are the things that I'm doing all about? Why am I doing it? Why do I think it's important? Is it important? Do I create important things in an important fashion in order to justify my outlook on this whole situation? Yes, I'm going to save the world. Yes, I'm going to go paint every day and write poetry every day. And if that lucky, even play music every day. So, what, uh, uh, what do I get to face a wider understanding of that which unfolds and progresses every day? Am I going to be compatible with this increasing simplicity? Uh, but of course, not to be mistaken that what it really represents is complexity and profoundness and uh, you know sophistication. A sophisticated attitude, approach. Nothing wrong with that individual. Nothing wrong with that as a whole. So at some point you already lose this distinction. You're like the whole and the specific is all in one package. That's it. So at first it's like almost feels like a daunting task, but then it's second nature. When we get second nature, man, you become a powerful individual. You know, when you have that kind of power, the reason of why subject matters won't matter anymore and won't be important anymore. Titles won't be important anymore. The necessity of labels and giving details would would be like almost zero, because on the surface there will be a texture that every day refines itself, and at the end of the day becomes the rules for tomorrow. This is what you cannot pass. This is what you cannot not have. This is what you need to achieve. These are the measurements that you're going to take. These are the tools that you're going to take the measurements with, and on and on. So it might sound very uh, intimidating, as well, too much action, but actually on the surface, um, it's having that system that at the beginning took you forever and tortured you to get used to become acquainted with that level of intensity, and reduces to the level that works for you, that works for you, you know it's yours, works for you, and you decided about what works and how it would work for you. Nothing wrong with that. But for many years, for many artists, for many creators, it it's a grinding factor, a grinding of their self-esteem to shreds, cuts it to shreds, and you always find yourself busy gathering the pieces. That mechanism shredded, literally. And then, of course, the decisions that you took after you realized, because the pain was like, wait a second, that's really painful. So you got to a point where you say, okay, let me activate my efficiency. Let me have a few mechanism in place that it will hit so many barriers on its way to me. And by the time it gets to me, A, probably I won't be there anymore, or B, I will be completely fortified and compatible with any threats of encounter, things of this nature. But the knowledge and the knowing about one another, that, I can argue with friends of mine and get into heated moments, and suddenly in the back of my mind, I still see that person that I know for sure, for a fact, of its powers, of its strength. And I said, oh my God, do I love him or her so much? Do I respect him or her so much? Oh my God. And and then it's just like two heavyweight uh, boxers are hitting each other for 12 to 15 rounds, and then right at the end of the 15 round, if it lasts 15 rounds, they just jump at each other and they kind of hugs and pat on their backs, and, hey, you did well, you're toughy, you're this, you're that, so uh, there's always a moment of where you say, okay, if ever, what did we punched left hooks with jabs with right hands and this and that and uppercuts, enough, done, we're done. The tournament is done. Let's wait until the next one will take place. And then this is just phase one. This is phase one on stage one. When you start climbing to the top of step one, stage one, which spells entering the beginning of step two, stage two. Or stage two, step one, which is the latest stages of step one towards that first beginning of the stage two. Now, stage two, it's step two. Oof, unbearably difficult. Not the actual reality, the uh, transition, the transformation that required that technical process of transition, and the many finding outs constantly about, you get a very testy flash of frames, and it tells you what's going on, and you're already in a stage where you can gather enough information from that 0.9% of accuracy and capability of sharpness that takes place. You already, at some point, you get to understand what you just experienced, even though it's a little shy, lower than 1 second. And lucky for us as painters, that when we find ourselves in the studio, there is a sense of, okay, and now this is real for real. And what do I mean by saying that? It is now that my acting is legitimate, my weirdness is legitimate, my whole attitude is acceptable, everything that I represent is tolerable and appealing and yielding, and everything else that I will describe as a part of reality or describe because it's a part of my imagination. Anything, because I am alone there. Yes, well, I hear voices, I see flashes of images, but still, I'm alone. Um, I passed that stage where I say, "What? Did I hear something?" But no one is here. What's going on? Believe me, been there, done that, wondered, got my answers. That's why I'm at stage one of step two. No, sorry. Step two in stage one. No, sorry. Stage two, step one in stage two. That's what it is. Stage two, step one for a while, then stage two, step two, which, considering that there's like dozens of stages, and then the relationship between them. But no one alive, I think, can pass stage two. No, I mean, stage four stepped. Stage four, step one. Stage four, step one is almost, I mean, it's definitely inhuman. So now I move to stage two, step one, and I realize, bum, what the friggin' heck is going on here? And how it will, like, what, like, this is not, this is not something that you say, okay, fine, okay, so what? So I heard a voice, whatever, or whatever. So what about anything, because you're alone and you're at your own mercy, at your own disposal. You and you yourself and you. You and you yourself and you yourself with you. You and and you yourself and you yourself and you. And I'm not so sure that it's less compatible uh, with the frequency of that change. It's like with also with things that like it's too late. Things like that. I call, and then maybe if you're lucky, there will be a voice that will inform you. No, it's not over until it's over, and it happens not to be over. So it's too late. Before it was too late, and so it's too late spells it's over. Snap out of it. Continue. Now, too late is wait. It's not over until it's over, and it happens not to be over, and you discover this option that becomes viable. Changes you incredibly. Maybe it won't look as much, but you know how much it is, how much it really is. So I know people that are at the edge of uh, um, transitioning to stage three, step one, which will probably be the last progress they will ever experience. If at all they can hold on to that. I mean, in order to be in a stage where you like in en route to achieve stage three, step one, you already feel comfortable traveling in galaxies and distances that cannot be fathomed or described and still be normal and sane and a human being. Um, but the point is that I know people like this. I mean, I consider myself to be stage two, step one, and that would be probably okay. Thank you, God. Even if it's over for me now or in 20 years from now, probably won't get over that. So I imagine people. It's almost like the analogy is terrible, but anyway, it's almost like from all the books that I read about the Holocaust and Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, there were a few people that were there for 4-5 years, prisoners. You know how unlikely that is for a person to survive and to be in Auschwitz more than 3 months? life expectancy in Auschwitz, if they decided not to send you to the gas chambers, would be a month with a complete deterioration of your psyche within 72 hours. So those individuals were, there are very few that were there 4 years, and they walk around with their number on their hands, and all the other inmates see these numbers and they say, my God, these people have been here for a long time. Immediately there would be a, a level of intimidation and respect that is second to none instantly, because they already let this information filter through their brains, and what they saw that these people would have had to go through in order to survive that long in Auschwitz would be like, wow. And they used to fear them because they say if they remain alive, that means they're influential in this camp. So the same thing, well, I don't want to take the analogy from the Holocaust into that, but just that moment where you say, wow, I don't need to know anymore. This number tells me the story. The same thing, I don't need to know anymore about this artist because these paintings, even though I haven't seen that new exhibition that I'm on my way to see, but I have recollections of prior experiences with this individual. And I walk there and I go there with no doubt in my mind that I'm going to get what it is that I'm expecting or uh, um, estimating, kind of that uh, anticipating. It will happen because certain people they achieve a certain level where no matter what they do will be acceptable and valued and respected, because they get to a stage where they cannot mess things up. There's no such thing; it doesn't exist from that wholeness and um, you know comes a non-wavering individual that is reliable and also pleasantly rewarding to get to know or to have that person like that and make it possible for you uh, to be close to him or her and to learn a thing or two. I remember when I took when I spent years and years with the Jim Chapin, for example, a great drummer, a great person, great thinker, great philosopher, someone who was born in what 1921 or something, and in 1939 was already like a drummer and music, whatever, things like that. Always asked him questions about whatever, and all he did is share stories with me that in my dreams I couldn't be a part of. Uh, in mid 40s, late 40s, in New York City, in America, in the West Coast, in Europe, and you name it. And there was like a an ongoing presentation of power. And you look at the person, and you don't see the person trying to do it, making it seem like it's at some point a certain degree of work. No, it's just the regularity of the incredible, the regularness of the incredible. That due to it, they achieve that level of greatness. It's that simple. You know, think about again. I don't want to be too cliche or uh, obvious or predictable. When I speak of Picasso and all this, I just speak more of at some point he wasn't the Picasso that delivered to us all these great things because he already did. So he could afford to be someone else. and because he had so much power that I was always on on engaged. It's always on. It's never off. Uh, then he can start doing things. Uh, he can start something new, such as trying to impress you. I asked, I thought, and you know what? I don't know much about art history really. Even though I know a lot about art and a lot about art, maybe about concepts of art that most people, a lot of people won't even understand what I'm talking about. But no, I don't have enough. I would have loved to get acquire more knowledge and education with, uh, but uh, but it doesn't stop me from thinking about the demeanor because once Picasso's De Kooning and Humer entered the studios, we're on equal grounds. Myself and all these greats, and I don't know, maybe I'm great and I'm not even aware of it. Or I know that maybe my actions themselves should grant me a title as great because I'm just there, I'm doing, painting. Painting. You understand that? So that's kind of repetition is actually reducing itself into I paint. That's it. Beginning, middle, and end. I paint. I think creatively. I So now he's in the business. So that's the point that I think I managed to. Then this is personal and intimate because it's not like I'm trying to make it evident and clear and public. And I happen to speak to you about it now. So now a great person like Picasso, after like 50 years of at that stage of creating, painting. Uh, Now he's looking back, evaluating, and now he changes. A, because he can, technically. A, because he can, because it's him. He is under discussion here because he equals what he does equals him or her. But in this case, Picasso, self-explanatory. Who needs to introduce? But still, he takes upon himself another change, and and his ability stands there completely available 100% to engage and to support and to answer the technical challenges. And boy, oh boy, did he deliver. And boy, oh boy, where there was no opposition to nothing, because right away, the beginning is like the end is like the middle is like the beginning, the middle is like the end. You can't tell because the point of impact is already a reality as it will be for the duration in full capacity. You start its full capacity, and the measurable territory is already something that you're privileged enough to have it being done for you. So when you enter, at least, so what a relief! Oh, one less thing to do. Thank you, God. And then you look for those who made it possible for you, and you look for those who made it possible for you because you really wanted to thank them, to show your gratitude, to show that this was maybe more important than most, if not all people thought it to be. Yes, you want some recognition, but you want recognition that will come from a level of goodness and selflessness that is so genuine that just that little tiny bit of it will last you for a whole lifelong of recollections, you know. They never left, they never this, they never that, they're always there. It's not like there's going to be any reason to justify for it not to be there suddenly. And that's a great feeling to have. That's a great level of security to have, especially if you know that you're for the long run. You're in it for the long run. You're in it for the long run. You actually uh, uh, belittle your capability and your magnitude belittles that which is being presented to us all the time as this is what it is. And until a person like you comes into the equation, then you say, well, this is what it used to be, not what it is anymore. Look at this sucker here. Look at this volume of work. A lot of times I saw it coming. As much as we seek uh, criticism, especially if it's, oh, look at this, who critiqued my work, even if he said I'm the uh, biggest loser SOB in the world and all this, that would be an achievement. So I'm going to put it on the list of achievements. But no. As much as you seek and look forward and welcome criticism, it will uh, still be, listen, there's certain things that I see coming that I don't particularly want to go through, like I can do without. So maybe I will be preemptive. Maybe I'll do something that will just send it this way and don't have to clash with it head on. So I remember that late 90s, maybe two, three, four exhibitions into my uh, establishment of my reality as an artist, uh, I realized ah, I'm not going to wait for more realizations to come to life or to ferment. I welcome them, but I'm not going to wait for them to be a condition for me to decide to do that or to decide to react this. Oh no, let's wait longer. No waiting. I'm introducing my strength immediately. So I came into a solo exhibition of maybe 2 dozen pieces of artwork, and then uh, they were so consistently intense that and I knew when I designed it this way and I curated it this way, and when people come into the gallery, it will be such a display of power, merciless. I mean, with quotation mark, merciless manifestation of material that is condensed, material that a presentation of work that any artist will be able to immediately recognize. A lot of work went into this instantly. Uh, Even borderline saying, "I don't think I can do it." You know, there's. I was shifting between trying to understand that maybe there is a way I can read their thoughts and really understand the sense of their feelings, even without them expressing or sharing with me, and in the same token, also just introduce raw power. Raw power. That means I'm introducing to you this chunk here, and this is the raw power of what I'm all about. But first and foremost, I want to warn you, the surface is hot. If you don't going to wear proper gloves, you're bound to burn yourself. Okay? So there are two levels to it. One is it's so hot, and secondly, it's a sizable volume of work that happens to be quality work, even though the professional critic um, took upon himself to, or didn't have the time to do his usual thing because something else caught his or her eye. And oh boy, are you lucky when that happens, because they are suspicious. The greats of those who critique that their word can make it or break it for you. Their word can either bury you alive or send you to the stars and the moon. And they're quiet, and they're going through the sensation of suspicion. Why am I feeling so different? What's going on? Why am I not understanding instantly what's going on here? And wait a second, who is the artist? Am I supposed to know who this artist is? And then this force to be reckoned with is asking, what am I doing here? Can someone please remind me What am I doing here? And then quickly enough, they realize the bell rings. Your time is up. Your time is out. That your time is up. Your time is out. Your time is done. You have no more time to have that at your disposal, to meddle with, to work with, to think about. It's over. You're done. And on their way home, they will think about the fact, wait a second, but I never got the chance to look at the paintings, really. Just as a critic, the relationship between colors, this, compositions, proximity, placement, whatever, million things. What happened? So now you go home and he starts writing a formidable critic to the work of this artist, that artist, me, whatever. You should see what took place there. I didn't have a clue of what was going on there, except that I can share with you. It was magic. It was mysterious. It was like, what the friggin' heck is going on? Who's this guy? Yeah, okay. This is some of the things that I've actually experienced. That when someone comes to me with vengeance, as if like, hey, listen, I'm coming your way and I'm influential and powerful, most likely I'm going to crush you. And then my job was to, no, boy, no, mate, no, you're not going to crush nobody. You're going to have to come ready and conditioned, because if not, expect some sobering moments. So I'm going to put the contra, like encounter, where you would come in and then you say, oh, shoot, so where's my sunglasses? That light will shine directly into the center of your eye, and your experience of humility will come too late. It won't matter anymore. You will be somewhat damaged. That means you're gonna have to recuperate. That's gonna take about a year. And in the same token, when I took lessons with one of the greatest drummers in the world, Ken Woodenard, in 1984 in Spanish Harlem, not for long, 8 months. I used to travel once a week to see him in his studio. I was an aspiring drummer, whatever, but I had no clue about what he usually teaches. And then it was like a process of, what the heck? Who's this guy? Why am I saying that I described myself as someone who's doing certain things and making another person feel like, who is this guy? What's going on? Because that person managed to technically put it in place so it will influence just about anyone like this. So being with Ken with the Nod was like, who is this guy and what did I do in the world and in the name of God to deserve all this goodness coming my way? That's how I felt for 8 months. And I had to lie to him all the time that I understand what he's talking about, because he was so forceful. And I felt like I cannot tell him I don't have a clue more often than not about what he's talking about. But still, I'm learning. What am I learning? What am I learning? What am I picking up at that moment from him? I'm picking up an opportunity to feel how it really feels to be powerful. And that means strong also, muscles also, Uh, what does it mean? What does it take, even also? If you contemplated you want to be powerful and thought maybe this is fantasy, suddenly you realize no fantasy, no schmantasy. This is doable. Look at this guy. So I'm there for 8 months saying, who's this guy? And then every time I dare to ask a question, I felt like he's going to punch me in the face. Because I'm not kidding you. like he can sometimes say, "How dare you asking me this question?" It's like, what did I do? So now I'm looking at this individual that's responsible for some powerful work, art, wonderful music. Wow. And I'm like, and he's being like, "What? Can someone please help me now to decipher what he just said? How dare you asking me this question?" Uh, So once when he said that to me, I said, "I don't know. Can you tell me why? You should know better than me why I behave the way I do." "I don't know. Tell me why I shouldn't have." Anyway, but you don't talk like that to masters, great masters of the world in arts and music and all this. He was one of them. So I'm there. Did something to deserve it, took advantage of it. What did I take from it? What did I take from it? I remember that my weakest spot was that I couldn't solo. I couldn't like play music, you know how they play, and then the drummer takes a solo. Okay, go for it. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And then you're doing da 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 pam 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 you know, whatever. And then you go back, they play together and done. Whoa. I didn't understand what it means to have a beginning, middle, and end, to have an ability and to have that as a possibility that indeed I can do it. I will be able to do it. If I cannot do it, I will learn how to do it. But I couldn't. I didn't. So at the end of 8 months, what did I realize? That I paid so much attention to his power. I was so taken and admiring, experiencing the kind of power that he uh, exhibited so casually, led me to find my place in the drum set, that all I should be concerned about, and in order to make it possible for me to be able to play a solo, is to introduce power and to introduce it as soon as possible. Don't look for the right time. Doesn't exist. At a boom, you know, whatever it is. But you go into the palm, or it's just that, and and that's what I did. And even if I was to tell you as a house painter, I go and there's a project and there's so much pressure, and maybe sometimes you just found out that you don't have 24 hours, that you have 10 hours, and then you say, okay, okay, okay. I will be the one who's going to be able to say, of course it's achievable. Of course it's a doable. Consider it done. Go on your merry way. We'll see you later. 10 hours, he said. 10 hours it will be. And then you're taking it. And what do you find out? Wait a second. Anyway, so that was. Okay. What do you find out? I found out that I'm running out of time. And I want to thank you for your patience and whatever it is that just happened here for the last 15 minutes. First of all, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning, August 20th, year 2024, and Tuesday morning here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Labor Day is just around the corner. Can you believe it?